Hello everyone. Welcome to a new lecture series on various arthropathies. So in this series we have completed osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. And today we are going to discuss about gouty arthritis. So let's start with the presentation. So let's start with gout and gouty arthritis. As you all know that gout is a disorder of purine metabolism. It's actually a metabolic disorder in which the metabolism of purine is disturbed. So it's a disorder of purine metabolism which is characterized by one or more features like hyperuricemia, recurrent attacks of acute arthritis in which the crystals of monosodium urate are demonstrable in the leukocytes present in the synovial fluid. The third characteristic is tophi. What is tophi? It's actually aggregated deposits of monosodium urate crystals in and around the joints of extremities. The patient of gout may also present with renal diseases involving interstitial tissue and blood vessels. It may also present with uric acid nephrolithiasis. So these are some special characteristics which is presented by the patient of gout. Gout is actually an inflammatory disorder. See what happens here. Uh, the main biochemical hallmark of this disease is hyperuricemia. Means uric acid is increased in the blood. So this hyperuricemia results in the formation of sharp needle-like crystals called as monosodium urate crystals. These crystals are deposited into the joints and it activates the inflammatory process, inflammatory reaction. Due to this inflammatory reaction, the joint becomes red, hot, tender and swollen. The repeated this attacks of acute attacks of arthritis, repeated attacks leads to the destruction of the joint tissues, and this is known as gouty arthritis. So this attack is known as gouty attack. So as you know, gout is a disorder of purine metabolism. We need to know where does the purine comes from. So purine and pyrimidines are the key components of the nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, which is a genetic material. So whenever the cells of our body are broken down along with the nucleic acids, so it will be converted into the uric acid, and this most of the part of uric acid is excreted by the kidney and uh, excreted into the urine. So let's see how this purine is converted into uric acid. So purine nucleotides are converted into hypoxanthine. This hypoxanthine is converted into xanthine in the presence of xanthine oxidase. Again, in the presence of xanthine oxidase, the xanthine is converted into uric acid. And this uric acid, most of the part of the uric acid is excreted into the urine. So this is the normal metabolism of purine. Now we need to understand how this uric acid converted into the crystals of monosodium urate. So for that, so to understand that, let's take the example of salt water. Suppose you are taking a glass of water and you are adding a bit of table salt into it, and you are allowing string to be dipped inside, and you let it be there for some days. So what will happen? As the time passes, this water will evaporate. This water will evaporate, and the concentration of the salt in the water will increase. But here we need to understand that the water has limited solubility of the salt. You can't dissolve infinite of salt into the water. So if you add more salt to the water, there is a saturation point. If it crosses that saturation point, this saturation point is actually a highest solubility of that salt. So if you add more salt into it, then this salt will get solidified and it will take the form of crystals. So it will get crystallized. So same thing happens in gout. What happens? See, uric acid, which is a byproduct of purine metabolism, right? This purine is converted into uric acid. See, now this uric acid has limited solubility into the blood. The highest solubility, the upper limit of the solubility uh, of uric acid into the normal pH of blood, which is 7.4, and at the normal body temperature, that is 37 degrees centigrade. The maximum solubility of this uric acid is 6.8 milligram per deciliter. So whenever, by any reason, if there is more and more destruction of breakdown of purine, then there will be more production of uric acid. And once this uric acid crosses the upper solubility limit of the blood, then what will happen? This uric acid will lose proton ion and will get converted into urate ion. And this urate ion will be combined with sodium and will form monosodium urate crystals. So this is how the monosodium urate crystals are being formed by uric acid. There are some favorable factors which actually favors the precipitation of these crystals. So there are mainly three factors which actually triggers the precipitation of monosodium urate crystals. The first is low pH. The lower the pH, the higher will be precipitation of these crystals. The low body temperature is also a major favoring factor for precipitation of these crystals. And third is gravity. So gravitational force is responsible for deposition of these crystals into the lower extremities spatially. So now let's see the pathophysiology of gouty arthritis. See, this hyperuricemia means increased level of uric acid into the blood. And this increased level has crossed the upper solubility limit of the uric acid into the blood. So this is called as hyperuricemia. This results in formation of monosodium urate crystals. Now these urate crystals are deposited into the joints and soft tissue due to the gravitational force. Due to the gravitational force, actually, they are mainly deposited into the joints of lower extremities. Especially, the mainly affected joint is the first metatarsophalangeal joint. So this deposition of these crystals will activate the inflammatory reaction. So as a response of this inflammatory reaction, there will be infiltration of granulocytes. And these granulocytes will phagocytosize the urate crystals. And along with that, it will generate free radicals and proteolytic enzymes. These free radicals will damage the tissues, and these proteolytic enzymes like release of lysosomal enzymes is responsible for destruction of joints. And along with that, there will be release of lactic acid, and this lactic acidemia, this lactic acid will actually lower the pH and aggravate the precipitation of urate crystals. So this is how the gouty arthritis takes place. See, we know that main culprit, main phenomena which is responsible for this pathophysiology is hyperuricemia. So we need to know the causes for hyperuricemia. So the causes can be divided into two parts. First is increased production of uric acid, and the second is decreased clearance of uric acid. So if we talk about the increased production of uric acid, then there are two types of reason. First reason is consumption of daily consumption of purine rich diet, like all organ meats like such as liver, kidney, etc. Beer and alcoholic beverages, beans, lentils, peas, oatmeal, seafood, mushroom, cauliflower, spinach, asparagus, soft drinks, these all are purine-rich diet. If someone is taking such dietary articles on daily basis, then there will be increased production of uric acid into the body. The second reason is chemotherapy and radiation. In chemotherapy and radiation, there will be higher rate of cell destruction. So along with the cells, there will be destruction of nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. So more purine will be produced there. Cytotoxic drugs are also responsible for more production of uric acid. And the second type of cause, one more thing, there are some person, we are genetically predisposed for more production of uric acid. The second types of causes can be categorized as decreased clearance of uric acid through the kidney. So what are the reasons? The foremost reason for decreased clearance is dehydration. If you take less amount of water, less amount of fluid, then there will be less solubility. So this will allow more precipitation of the uric acid crystals and deposition of this crystal into the joints and kidney tubules, and will lead to the manifestation of gout. The second is chronic kidney disease. See, the filtration occurs through kidney glomeruli. So if any person has chronic kidney disease, then the filtration rate will be decreased, and which will again lead to the hyperuricemia. There are some medications like thiazide, aspirin. These are also responsible for decreased clearance of uric acid. Some patients like diabetes, hypertension, patients of diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and obesity, they are more prone to develop this disease. So this hyperuricemia actually can be divided into two parts: primary hyperuricemia and secondary hyperuricemia. Primary hyperuricemia, the causes of primary hyperuricemia is again divided into the increased purine production and reduced renal excretion of uric acid. And the secondary hyperuricemia is also categorized. The causes of secondary hyperuricemia is also categorized as increased purine production and reduced renal excretion of uric acid. So in the primary hyperuricemia, enzymatic defects either idiopathic or inborn error of metabolism leads to primary hyperuricemia. And for unknown reason, there will be reduced glomerular filtration and hence tubular reabsorption, which is again responsible for primary hyperuricemia. If we talk about the causes of secondary hyperuricemia, then the foremost cause for this is chronic hemolytic anemia. So all of you know that in hemolytic anemia, there is increased destruction of RBCs. So which will lead to more production of purine. Some cytotoxic drugs actually leads to destruction of cells very rapidly. So some carcinoma, sarcoma, myeloproliferative disorders, proliferative disorders are actually the causes of increased purine production of secondary hyperuricemia. And some drugs like diuretics, hyperlactic acidemia. See, we have seen in the pathogenesis, this hyperlactic acidemia actually causes lower pH of the blood and which will allow more crystals to be precipitated. Intrinsic kidney disease, polycystic kidney disease, diabetic ketoacidosis, these are the reasons of secondary hyperuricemia, which actually reduces the renal excretion of uric acid. These are some risk factors of gout. It usually begins in third decade of life. If we talk about the male-female ratio, then males are more prone to develop this disease and this ratio is of 4:1. Females are affected only after the menopause. Trauma, surgery, starvation, dehydration, hypertension, obesity, diabetes mellitus, these are the risk factors for this development of this disease. And as we have discussed, some drugs like diuretics, aspirin, niacin, cytotoxic drugs, alcoholic beverages, purine-rich diet, and ultimately the genetic inheritance plays a very important role in development of this disease. So if we talk about the clinical manifestation, then what happens? This attack usually comes in the midnight due to lower body temperature. So what will happen? The person will wake up in the midnight out of the feeling of pain in the big toe. The pain is most severe, is excruciating pain, throbbing pain, and there is so much burning sensation into the great toe. So this is known as actually podagra. The main manifestation site of this disease is first metatarsal joint of big toe. So which will become red, hot, tender, and swollen. The person feels like the great toe is on fire. He's not even able to tolerate the weight of bed sheet on it. So this is how the person manifests this disease, and along with this first metatarsal joints, there are some more joints which are prone to develop this arthritis, like ankle joint, knee joint, and the less commonly involved joints are wrist joint, elbow, etc. So why urate crystals are deposited into first metatarsophalangeal joint? So the foremost cause for this is gravitational force. As we know, there are three favorable factors for precipitation of monosodium urate crystals into some specific area. So why first metatarsophalangeal joint? The first reason is gravity, and the second is low pH due to release of lactic acid. As we have seen, in the pathophysiology of these disease, whenever this urate crystals are deposited into the joint, it will initiate the inflammatory reaction. And this inflammatory reaction, there will be release of proteolytic enzymes and lactic acid. This lactic acid will actually decrease the pH, and this decreased pH will allow more and more crystals to be precipitated, to be deposited into that particular site. Why the attack is at midnight? Of course, uh, in the sleep, the body temperature is lowered. There will be low body temperature at night. This is the reason why patient uh, feels this attack in midnight. If we talk about clinical manifestation, then this gouty arthritis is actually a crystalline. Crystalline because there is deposition of monosodium urate crystals. It's inflammatory arthritis, acute arthritis. So you know that this deposition of crystals will initiate, will activate the inflammatory process, and the person will experience acute arthritis. So this is crystalline, inflammatory, asymmetrical monoarthritis. Monoarthritis means generally in this arthritis, only a single joint is being involved of any one side. So this arthritis is presented either acute or chronic arthritis, primary or secondary. It is either due to overproduction of urine or under excretion of uric acid. This is actually the person of gouty arthritis actually presents the pain and swelling into the first metatarsophalangeal joint. So the cardinal signs are pain and swelling. The joint will become red, hot, tender and swollen. And specifically the joint which is being involved in this disease, in 90% of the cases, the first metatarsophalangeal joint is being involved. If we talk about the constitutional symptoms, then the person may develop low-grade fever. The pain, the attack is actually begins at night and awakens the patient from the sleep. And the person feels like his thumb is kept on the fire, and he will not even able to tolerate the weight of the bed sheet on it. And if such attacks keeps coming, then the person is converted into the chronic arthritis, that is chronic gouty arthritis. And if in such a patient synovial fluid analysis is being done, then WBCs will be more than 2000 but less than 10,000 per cubic mm, and this synovial fluid will predominantly demonstrate the presence of neutrophils in it. There will be elevation of ESR and CRP. So this is all about clinical manifestation. Now we'll see the stages of this disease. The first stage is asymptomatic. The second is acute gout. Third is chronic tophaceous gout. Fourth is advanced chronic tophaceous gout. And the fifth is renal lesions. So in asymptomatic phase, we need to understand that hyperuricemia doesn't mean gout. The risk of gout, of gouty attack, of course increases with increasing level of uric acid. But there are many patients which will experience the attack even with the normal level of uric acid. And there will be some patients who will never experience such an attack despite very high level of uric acid. So all of you need to understand that hyperuricemia doesn't mean gout. So in asymptomatic phase, what happens, though there is hyperuricemia, but person doesn't have any symptoms. Acute gout, we have already seen the clinical manifestation. Acute gout is a painful condition that typically affects only one or a few joints like big toe, knee, ankle joints, etc. So there'll be throbbing, crushing, and excruciating pain in these joints. Joint will appear warm and red. There may be low-grade fever. Onset usually is nocturnal, means the patient experiences this attack at midnight with sudden swelling and excruciating pain in the affected joint. The reason for onset at night is due to lower body temperature. Joint pain usually begins over 2 to 4 hours and during the night. And it usually subsides within 2 to 10 days. And after 2 to 10 days, the person becomes normal. The joints are normal with no symptoms between the attack. The attack may go away in few days, but it may return from time to time. Additional attacks actually often last longer. After a first gouty attack, half of the people will have no symptoms and half of the patients will have another attack. So these are some common sites of acute flare. So the gout can involve bursa, tendon and joints. In 90% of the cases, first metatarsophalangeal joint is affected and then it may affect ankle joint, knee joint. Less affected joints are wrist, elbow, fingers, etc. This disease may also involve olecranon bursa. So these are some pictures of acute gout in which the first metatarsophalangeal joint is being involved, is being affected. You can see here there is red, hot, tender, swollen joint. In this, the fingers are being involved. Metacarpophalangeal joints and interphalangeal joints are being involved. The third stage is chronic tophaceous gout. So the recurrent attacks of acute gouty arthritis lead to progressive evolution into the chronic arthritis. There will be deposits of urate crystals into the articular cartilage. And due to this deposition, there will be synovial proliferation, pannus formation, and progressive destruction of articular cartilage and subchondral bone. Deposits of urate crystals in the form of tophi may be found in periarticular tissues. Here you can see. This is the tophi. Joint pain and other symptoms remains most of the time throughout the day. There will be joint damage, loss of motion in the joints. See, this tophi usually develop only after a patient has had a disease for many years. The fourth stage is advanced chronic tophaceous gout. So which is characterized by massive deposits of monosodium urate crystals in and around the joint, as in articular cartilage, subchondral bone, synovial membrane, capsule, tendon sheaths, and periarticular tissues. In this stage, the tophi formation can also occur over eyelids, nasal cartilage, cornea, tongue, vocal cords, and penis. Tophi can be seen clinically, and you can see the obvious deformity of hands and foot in this stage. So in X-ray, you may be able to appreciate tophi associated with this. See here, there is bony destruction. The tophaceous nodules consist of multicentric deposit of urate crystals and intracellular matrix and foreign body granulomatous reaction. As they enlarge in size, they get calcified, they can cause pressure symptoms. The tophi are firm yellow in color and occasionally discharge a chalky material. So this is the gross appearance of tophi. And the fifth stage of this disease is renal lesions. Chronic gouty arthritis frequently involves kidney. Three types of renal lesions are being described. The first is acute urate nephropathy, in which the deposit of monosodium urate crystals takes place in the tubular deposition. So, in acute urate nephropathy, there will be intratubular deposition of MSU crystals, which will result in obstructive uropathy. In chronic urate nephropathy, the deposition of MSU crystals will be into the interstitial tissues. And in uric acid nephrolithiasis, there will be hyperuricemia resulting into hyperuric aciduria. Means in this stage, there will be increased excretion of uric acid into the urine. That is hyperuric aciduria. So this is all about stages of gout. Now let's see the complications. Complications may include joint deformities, osteoarthritis. Tophi may produce draining sinuses that may become infected, renal stones, pyelonephritis, obstructive renal diseases, etc. If we talk about the diagnosis part, then there are some investigations which are being advised for diagnosis of gout. So the patient is usually advised CBC, complete blood count, ESR, serum uric acid, blood urea nitrogen, serum creatinine, synovial fluid analysis, 24-hour urine uric acid levels, and plain radiograph, that is X-ray. So if we see the CBC, complete blood count, then there will be elevation of WBC during acute attack. ESR is usually increased. Serum uric acid is increased because the hyperuricemia is main biochemical hallmark of this disease. In case of involvement of kidney, the blood urea nitrogen and serum creatinine will also get increased. If we talk about the X-ray, then X-ray appears normal in early stages, but tophi appear as eroded areas of bone into the chronic tophaceous gout. If we talk about the synovial fluid analysis, then it will show the presence of crystals of monosodium urate into the leukocytes present in synovial fluid. So this synovial fluid analysis, which is actually polarized light microscopy, is a gold standard method for diagnosis of gout. So in this, you will be able to see the needle and rod shaped crystals of monosodium urate in leukocytes of synovial fluid during attack. So if we talk about synovial fluid analysis, to differentiate various arthritis, then if we talk about volume, then in normal joint, the volume of synovial fluid is less than 3.5 ml. But in case of non-inflammatory arthritis and septic arthritis, the volume of synovial fluid will increase. It will be more than 3.5 ml. If we talk about the normal color of synovial fluid, then it is actually colorless. But in case of non-inflammatory arthritis, it becomes yellow. In inflammatory arthritis, it becomes yellow to opalescent. And in septic arthritis, it becomes yellow to green. If we talk about the clarity of this fluid, then normally it is transparent. In non-inflammatory arthritis, also it remains transparent. But in inflammatory arthritis, due to the presence of WBCs, it becomes slightly opaque. And in septic arthritis, there will be more amount of WBCs present, so which will make it turbid and opaque. If we talk about presence of WBCs, then normally there will be less than 200 per mm cube. But in case of non-inflammatory arthritis, it is more than 200 but less than 2000 per cubic mm. In case of inflammatory arthritis, the WBCs are in between 2000 to 10,000. And in case of septic arthritis, it is more than 10,000 or even more than 1 lakh. So if we talk about the polymorph nucleosides, then there'll be less than 25%. In non-inflammatory arthritis also it will remain normal. But in case of inflammatory arthritis, the presence of this polymorphonucleosides is more than or equal to 50%. And in case of septic arthritis, there will be presence of these neutrophils more than or equal to 75%. If we talk about the culture, then in case of septic arthritis, due to infection, the culture will be positive, and in case of other arthritis, the culture is negative. So this is all about gout and gouty arthritis. Thank you.